Alright, we are beginning lesson 1-1 of pre-cal, and we're going to start. This first chapter is an algebra review, and you will be trying to take the algebra at the AccuPlacer at the end of this semester, so hopefully what you're going to end up with is just one semester of pre-cal before you can go into college algebra. So let's look at this review and go from there, and let's see if I can write on this and get it doing what it's supposed to do with the pen. In our first problem here, 5x minus 4 over 5x plus 4 is equal to 2/3. Well, really, I think the easiest, there's a couple ways you could do this, but in this case where you've got a fraction equals a fraction, the easiest thing I think is going to be to cross multiply it. It looks like I'm going to have to open my inner right workspace, and I should have done that before now. Let's see if it's going to let me do it or not. Okay, it's not acting like it wants to open it. That's great. There it goes. So now if I can find my that's what I want. Alright, so that was a little delay. Let's see if this inner right workspace will open on up. There we go. So I can in fact use these pens like I want to use. There, right there. Okay. So now we've got our pen. We're going to cross multiply, or in other words, we're going to get this answer. Okay. So that is going to end up with 3 times 5x minus 4 is equal to 2 times 5x plus 4. Okay. Alright, then we're going to need to distribute the 3 and the 2, so we'll have 15x minus 12 is equal to 10x plus 8. Okay, subtract 10 from both sides, and that'll leave 10x, that'll leave us with 5x over here. Add 12 to both sides, and that will leave us 5x equals 20. Dividing by 5, then x is equal to 4. Okay. Now, on this next problem, number 2, we have a subtraction, and we have fractions. Well, we can multiply through by the least common denominator, which our least common denominator, if we were going to make a common denominator, would be 10. So if we multiply each piece of this by 10, so in other words you have 10 times x over 5 minus 10 times x over 2 minus equals 3 times 10. We multiply each through by that constant 10. We haven't changed the value because we've done it all the way across. Then with this 10, 5 will go into 10 twice, and 2 times x then is 2x. 2 will go into 10 5 times, so that's minus 5x is equal to 30. Now you notice we don't have a fraction. That's one way you can eliminate your fraction, is to multiply through by your least common denominator. And sometimes you can get that just by multiplying these two together and multiplying by that. If you don't want to take the time to figure out what your lowest common denominator is, just multiply those two numbers and go with that. So 2x minus 5x is negative 3x equals 30. Dividing by negative 3, then x is equal to negative 10. So this is just a variety of solving equations. This is something you've done many times before. Again, here we're going to distribute. So we'll end up with 10x minus 15 equals 9x minus 15. Okay. And subtracting the 9x across, we have x. And then adding 15 to both sides equals 0. And remember, 0 is an answer. It's okay to get 0. Sometimes you think, oh, 0, that can't be right. But 0 is an answer. So that is the answer to this problem. All right, here we have a fraction. Don't panic when you have fractions. You need to learn how to deal with them. We're going to distribute that 5. So on the left, we stay the same. 5 times 9/5, the 5s are going to cancel out. That's 45/5, or just 9. But we still have to distribute the 5 to the x, so it's 9 minus 5x. Well, if we add the 5x's across, we discover that they add to be 0, and we have 9 equals 9. Or if you added the 9's back across, then you'd have 0 equals 0. This is a true statement. And remember, when it's a true statement, this is an identity equation. Okay, we end up with a true statement. And my solution set is all real numbers. Okay. Now, that means any number I plug in there, doesn't matter what it is going to give me a true statement. So when your variables cancel out and you get a true statement, your solution, your answer is all real. And again, this is a review. These are things you've had before, but it's a reminder. All right, let's distribute this one. Number 5, we see the 3's are going to cancel out. So you have 2/3 times 3x is going to be 2x. 2/3 times negative 5 is going to be negative 10/3. And that equals 2x plus 7. Okay, that's a 10, it's a 0. All right, so looking at this, what is our denominator? Well, if we multiply by 3, our least common denominator is 3, let's multiply by 3 all the way across. That means multiplying it by each of these pieces, each of the elements in the equation. Multiplying by 3 all the way across, we end up with 6x minus 10 equals 6x plus 21. Okay. Now when we add 6x across, they cancel out to be 0. And you have then negative 10 equals 21. Well, obviously negative 10 does not equal 21. That is a false statement. Okay. It's not true. And so the answer is no solution. Or it's an empty set. There is no answer. There's nothing you could put in there for x that would make that a true statement. So again, we've lost the variables here, just like we did in number 4, but we end up with two numbers that do not equal to each other. We end up with a false statement. All right, let's look at 6. We have 3/2 we're going to distribute and a 1/4 we're going to distribute. Well, the least common denominator between 2's and 4's would be 4. But we're going to have to kind of group these in brackets. You could do these a couple different ways. We can multiply, since this is all what the 3/2 is multiplied right here by the x plus 5, we can multiply this by 4, and the minus 1/4 right here again is multiplied by this set of parentheses, so we're going to multiply this piece by 4, and then we've got this 0 over here that we're going to multiply by 4. Well, the 3 is distributed, so if we just multiply the 4 by this piece in front, we can then distribute that. Okay, because it doesn't matter what order you multiply in, right? We've got 4 times 3 halves times parentheses x plus 5. So 4 times 3 halves is 12 halves, or 6. Okay, 2 goes into 4 2 times. So 2 times 3, we have 6 times x plus 5. Now 4 times 1/4, but there's a negative there. That's going to cancel. So we have minus 1, and I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to write it like that. You certainly don't have to write the 1, times x plus 24. Same idea here. We could multiply. We had the negative 1/4 times 4 times x plus 24. And so we just multiplied the 4 times the negative 1/4, and we got negative 1. And 0 times 4 is 0. Okay. Now we distribute. We have 6x plus 30 minus x plus 20, minus, I need to erase that. Find my eraser. Go back to my pen. Minus 24 equals 0. Alright, 6x minus x is 5x. And 30 minus 24, that's going to be plus 6, equals 0. Subtract 6 from both sides. 5x equals negative 6. Dividing by 5, then, x is equal to negative 6/5. And again, I know y'all don't like fractions, but it's something you've got to get over. By now in your mathematics development, you need to work really hard to become proficient at dealing with fractions. Alright, that's the end of this page. So we're going to go to the next page. And that's not what I wanted to do. So I don't know how to go back up. Let's see, how do I get rid of that? Do that maybe? Okay, so, well, let's go to the next. Is there another page? There may not be. That may be the end of it. Yeah, that's the end of that page. Okay, so that is our introduction to solving equations. We're going to go on to 1-2 today because we've got a lot to cover to get you ready for that AccuPlacer. It's always pressure, I know. So you have homework. That will be assigned, and we're going to move on to section 1-2. So